Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. We have a lot of really good questions this week, so I'm going to go ahead and dive right into them. First one comes from Kobe Jones, who wants to know, does Texas Tech end up with a true big? Well, I guess that depends on your definition of a true big. I feel like Marcus Santos-Silva is a true power forward. He's 6'7", 250 now. He's not what I think you're asking about, a true big being like a 6'10", 6 foot whatever or bigger, a true like a big man down low to hold down the paint, anchor the paint, if you will. And I think really, as far as I know right now, your best shot at that is Vlad Golden, the guy from Putnam Science Academy, by way of Russia. 7 foot, big dude. He's the kind of guy that will troll the paint and block a lot of shots and clean up offensive rebounds and dunk. So I think he's your best bet in terms of Tech landing a true big this signing class. Which, by the way, with the updated rankings from 24/7 Sports, the Red Raiders finished with the top 10 signing class and the number 1 signing class in terms of the 2020 recruiting cycle in the Big 12. So when you factor in transfers like Marcus Santos-Silva and then even Jamarius Burton, if he's available, then it's top 5 according to CBS Sports. So great class, but like you said, I think there still are some concerns of not having true monster bigs on the roster. But I do think they have some options. It'll be interesting to see what Tyreek Smith can do. I think he's pretty close to being a true big. They have some options, and we'll have to just see how it works out. But man, what a talented roster. Speaking of that talented roster, RJM2186 asks, who do I have as the starting 5 now that we know that Santos-Silva will be in the mix? Well, I do have him starting. I have Joel Ntambwe starting next to him, kind of playing. He's really, I think you'd like him to be kind of a small forward, but he would be the 4, for lack of a better term, in this lineup. And then I got Namari Burnett. And then I got Davide Moretti. And then I personally believe that Kevin McCullough will be your starter. But I think Terrence Shannon's going to have a say in that. So then from there, it just gets ridiculous trying to make some of the decisions. Kyler Edwards started all year last year and was a big part of what you did. Even in the national championship game, I think he scored 12 points, 2 years ago. So, he's going to figure in there. I mean, you have options. Tyreek Smith, who I mentioned earlier in this video. There's just so many good players on this team. It's going to be really interesting to see how. I'm glad that's why Coach Beard makes the big bucks, is to get all that talent and figure out how to get all the all the shots, all the minutes for everybody. So it's going to be interesting because you got Micah Peavy coming in, you got Chibuzo Agbo. I mean, where are the minutes going to come for all these guys? Because Micah Peavy most years, maybe even Agbo, would come in and start for a lot of your teams you've had in the past at Texas Tech, and I'm trying to figure out where they're going to be in the rotation. So, man, a lot of really good options to have. But that's my 5 is my starting 5, anyways, is Morrow, Burnett, McCullough, and Ntambwe, and Santos-Silva. All right, Padres 11 wants to know. He says he's got to ask, and I'm probably tired of this question, which I don't think I've ever received this question before, but fries or onion rings? Ooh, that's a tough one because I like me some onion rings. I think I'm going to have to go with French fries, but man, and I like all kinds of crinkle fries, thin fries, even steak fries. I mean, waffle fries. I like them all. But I tell you what, man, I really love a really thin, crunchy onion ring, and I love to dip it in barbecue sauce, a sweet and tangy barbecue sauce. Mwah! That is so delicious. It's one of my favorite things. So, man, that's a really difficult question. I guess I'm going to go fries, but man, I'm not turning down any crispy onion rings either. Next question comes from Cajun Raider, who asks, the 5-star quarterback transfer, JT Daniels at USC. He says, is Tech interested or not? If so, how realistic of a shot does Tech have? Does he fit your system? Yeah, I mean, I think Texas Tech would be interested in JT, but I don't think JT's going to Texas Tech. And I've said this on the board, but I think with the kind of the way the one-time exemption transfer rule kind of was shot down by the NCAA recently, that may really hurt because he's a traditional transfer, so he may stick it out. The option of staying at USC was always very real for him, and I think that's probably where I would pick. He ends up is just staying there in LA, but then again, I think Michigan and I think LSU are two viable options. I think that's who he's looking at. It'd be great for Texas Tech, but I don't see it happening. Birdo Coalition wants to know. He says, and I'm going to read this to give you some background on what he's talking about here exactly. He says, the thought of playing football in an empty stadium is a bizarre thought indeed, but we may be facing that if the games are played at all. Additionally, though, have there been any concerns raised about the safety of the players themselves as they are assembled together and playing in extremely close quarters that are an absolute necessity in football? He says, what if a player or players contract the virus? Are the games put on hold while the team is quarantined? Do we have any idea how the players themselves and perhaps their parents feel about them getting back out there? He said he realizes these are not happy thoughts, but depending on how things play out going forward, they may merit some consideration as well. Yeah, I think, all of those are serious considerations. First off, let me say what I've heard is this has been the most consistent thing, and as of late, from people who actually converse with decision makers and people that should know, is it's going to be delayed, but still start. And I'm hearing that it may not be delayed as much as we thought, because there's been some talk like, what if they kick off in January, stuff like that. I'm thinking what I'm hearing is September or early October and tip off. So now whether they do away with non-conference, all of that is short and scheduled. I don't think they want to do that. I think they want to try and get a full schedule in for a million reasons. And the bottom line is everybody wants football. There's so much money tied into so many things. And I said this on the air on Friday on 101.1 FM here in Lubbock, but there's so many, not just with sports, but just with every facet of life, there's so many branches to what's happened to all of us, not just in Lubbock or Texas or even the U.S., but there's just so many branches to the lockdown, the coronavirus pandemic, that it's hard to get to the end of a rabbit hole. I mean, because there's so many, like, the media is affected, merchandise, obviously the schools, the fans, I mean, hotels, local restaurants. There's so many things that are affected by this economically before we even get to your health concerns. So there's definitely like a weighing out. There's a weighing and a weighting out process going on. Like, how much are we willing to sacrifice for the hope of staying healthier? Of not getting everyone sick. But then again, the other thought is like what you said. What if a couple of guys on the team come down with it? Then, if that happens, then it's not just the guys you're playing against, but it's your teammates, the coaches, the support staffs, the refs, the fans that you may have signed autographs for. Who knows how that's all going to break out, or if that's even going to be allowed, or if fans are even going to be there, like you mentioned, Bordeaux. There's a lot to consider. Are you going to make fans like social distance, where you only allow in like a fourth of the fans or something like that, or half the fans? If you do allow them in, there's a lot to consider. But the common thought is that it's going to be delayed, but not delayed as much as we possibly thought initially. So I'm very hopeful. I'm hopeful that the season, where I wasn't maybe a month ago, I am now. That I think we're kind of going through a test with several other parts of society right now, especially here in Texas. Barbershops, restaurants, some stores are opening up, and there'll be several layers of that opening up bit by bit. And I think if there's not a big outbreak, then I think there's a good chance that football is going to kick off and we're going to have our season and all that. But if there's a big outbreak, a second wave, then of course, I think there'll be a delay, and who knows where we go from there. Because I think the stop-start would be the biggest disaster. When we start a season, they have to pull people off the field, like Tech basketball was pulled out of Kansas City during the Big 12 championship, literally pulled off the court when they were warming up to play Texas. So there's a lot to consider, like you said, and definitely, every kid and their parents are going to have to make up their own minds on whether they feel like it's safe or not. I mean, nobody's going to force them to play. We're going to be reporting on things. It's going to be very interesting. But to answer your question, I'm hopeful that we're going to have a regular season. Most kids are going to be able to play. How that's going to look, when exactly that's going to kick off, I can't tell you. But I am optimistic and I'm hopeful, and I think everyone's going to do everything they can to be as safe as possible, because one, it's the right thing to do, but also because it's in everyone's best interest for it to work out. So with that, hey, we had some great questions once again this week. I really appreciate all of them. Thank you for watching, and until next time.